Somewhere in her mid-40s, sometimes earlier, sometimes a bit later, your wife changed. Not dramatically at first. A bit more tired, a bit more irritable, sleeping worse, saying things she wouldn't have said 5 years ago, withdrawing in conversations she'd normally have engaged with, or the opposite, anger arriving out of small things in a register she'd never used before. Libido changes, anxiety where there wasn't any. A general sense that she wasn't quite the woman you married, and worse, that she didn't fully recognize herself either. You took it personally. You wondered what you'd done. You bought flowers and planned dinners. You tried being more attentive. You tried being less attentive. Nothing worked. The space between you grew, and after a few years of this you started, quietly, maybe without saying it out loud to anyone, to consider whether the marriage was over. Your wife was going through perimenopause, the early years of the menopausal transition, and in the next 12 minutes I'm going to explain what was actually happening in her body, why it hit your relationship the way it did, what the medical system has been failing to explain, and what couples who survive this transition do differently. This is the most important relationship video on this channel, and almost nobody is making it. Before I go any further, I want to say two things clearly, because the rest of this video will be misread if I don't. First, this video is not about blaming women for menopause. Menopause is not a moral failing. It is not a character defect. It is not something to be managed away. It is a biological transition that approximately half the human population goes through, and it is the single most under-supported major life transition in modern medicine. The women experiencing it have been failed by their doctors, by the medical research community, and frequently by their partners. I'm trying to give the men watching this information so the carrying can be shared. Second, if you are a woman watching this, I want you to know that this video is in your corner. If at any point I get the framing wrong, tell me in the comments. I will read everyone. The rest of the video is for the man who has spent years trying to work out what happened to his relationship without ever being told the most important piece of the puzzle. Perimenopause typically begins in a woman's early to mid-40s. It is the multi-year stretch leading up to actual menopause, which is technically a single day. The transition itself can run anywhere from 4 to 10 years. What's happening biologically is this. The ovaries gradually produce less estrogen and progesterone. The decline isn't linear. Hormones oscillate wildly, sometimes spiking, sometimes crashing. Her hormonal terrain has become unpredictable in a way it wasn't for 25 years. The symptoms include sleep fragmentation, mood shifts including rage, cognitive changes like brain fog, and libido changes. Most women experience enough of them to alter their daily lives substantially. Critically, and this is the piece that almost no relationship content covers, perimenopause profoundly affects the brain. Estrogen modulates serotonin, dopamine, and oxytocin. She is, in a real and measurable sense, a chemically different person than she was at 30. That isn't a metaphor. It's an endocrinological fact. Now I want to explain why this hits the relationship the way it does. Because this is the part that the wellness articles, even the good ones on perimenopause, rarely connect. On this channel, I've made a video about a study by a researcher called Jennifer Bartz on oxytocin. Oxytocin is the bonding hormone, the one that fires during eye contact, sex, and holding hands. Bartz's research showed that oxytocin doesn't simply produce trust. It amplifies whatever social program the nervous system is already running. For a system wired for threat, it deepens suspicion. Here's the menopause-relevant piece. Oxytocin receptors in the brain are modulated by estrogen. When estrogen levels are stable, her oxytocin system bonds her to you in the way you're used to. When estrogen drops, that system changes. The same touch, the same eye contact. They don't produce the same neurochemical response. The hardware that converted closeness into love is recalibrating. The woman who used to feel held may now feel intruded upon. The woman who experienced your concern as care may now experience it as smothering. Nothing about her character changed. Her neurochemistry shifted. I am not telling you your wife stopped loving you. The cognitive love, the choice, the commitment is still there. The signal is still being broadcast. the receiver got rewired. From your side of the table, what you've been seeing is this: she used to want you. She doesn't seem to anymore. You've interpreted that as loss of attraction. Almost always you've interpreted it as something about you. She used to be patient. She isn't now. Small things you do provoke responses they never used to. You've started managing around them. You've started not asking the second time. She used to sleep. She doesn't now. She's up at 3. The sleep deprivation by itself is enough to change a person's personality. Add the hormonal changes, and you have a different woman walking through the house. What this can look like, if you don't know, is borderline personality disorder. And sometimes, you are watching the menopausal transition and mistaking biology for personality. If your wife was a kind, regulated woman for 2 decades and is suddenly not, biology is the most likely explanation. And the failure to consider biology is ending gray-aged marriages in record numbers. The divorce rate for people over 50 has roughly doubled since 1990. It has a name, gray divorce, and the standard explanation is that women are economically more independent. All of that is true. None of it is the whole story. The piece that almost nobody names is that the demographic going through gray divorce is the same demographic going through menopause. The women report that they woke up from the marriage. Often they don't recognize this as a hormonal shift. Sometimes the focus is accurate. Sometimes it is the temporary distortion of an endocrine system in transition. I am not telling you to dismiss her perception, but make any irrevocable decisions only after the transition has been understood. The couples who do this almost always survive. Practical 5 things in order of importance. 1. Name it. Not as accusation, as information. Don't lead with diagnosis, lead with curiosity. If she's been carrying this alone, naming it can be transformative. 2. Get her to a specialist. Modern hormone replacement therapy is dramatically safer than the version from the 2000s. You can help her get past the medical system's failure. 3. Hold steady. Whatever you do not withdraw. She needs somebody whose presence is reliable. Be that steady ground. 4. Change what needs to change. If she needs to sleep alone or needs the house cooler, accept it. None of these are personal. All of them are physiological. 5. Do your own work in the same period. Therapy, exercise, friendships, so that the steadiness you bring to her is rooted in something real. The couples who survive perimenopause and come out the other side stronger have certain things in common. They name it, they get information, they renegotiate sleep, sex, and household labor without treating those renegotiations as crises. They keep talking. They keep showing up. Remember who she was and trust that who she is becoming is connected to that. The woman who emerges is often a more direct, more honest, less people-pleasing version of herself. The post-menopausal years can be some of the best years of a long marriage. Treat the transition with the seriousness it deserves. If your wife is in the middle of this, the most useful thing you can do tonight is watch this video again, with her sitting next to you. The information is the first move. The free attachment quiz on this channel is linked below. The companion videos that go deeper on the biology of bonding are also linked. Together they give you the fuller picture. Your wife didn't stop loving you. Her endocrine system started running a different program. The marriage that comes out the other side is often better than the one that went in. I'll see you in the next one. Songs, stories, the long road between who I was and who I'm becoming.